Hello, this is Mrs. Adkison and welcome to this flip video on Document A, Federalism. You'll be viewing a series of videos from Ms. Ezell and myself regarding all the documents you will analyze for this DBQ. So let's get started. First, you will need to open up the document that has been sent to you through Edmodo earlier today. Please open the document and save a copy to your Google Drive. You'll be making notes on this document as we go through the video. You may start, stop, fast forward, or rewind at any time throughout this video. So first we're going to look here at the main topic. So this is Document A in your DBQ, and the main topic is federalism. So go ahead and highlight the word federalism. So you select the entire word, go to highlight, and choose any color you wish. Yellow is always the best color to choose. Remember, federalism is how power is distributed between the national government and the state governments. So next we're going to look at the source. So here's the source. You don't have to do anything to the source, just reference it for right now. The following quote that you're going to read below here was made by James Madison. James Madison was the writer of the U.S. Constitution, which you should already know. James Madison was one of the main authors of the Federalist Papers as well, which were written during the ratification or approval process of the Constitution. Okay, so this is Federalist Paper number 51. There were 85 essays written, and this is an excerpt from number 51. It was also written in 1788. Many people still use the Federalist Papers to interpret and understand the Constitution. So they're very important documents. Okay, so next we're going to read the quote from James Madison, which is here. So I'm going to read it in its entirety, so pay attention, and then we're going to make some notes on it. In the compound republic of America, the power surrendered by the people is first divided between two distinct governments, and the portion allotted to each subdivided among distinct separate departments. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will each control each other. At the same time, each will be controlled by itself. So what I want you to do is first underline the words Compound Republic of America. I'm going to go ahead and fix that. This should be Compound Republic of America. Let's go ahead and highlight it and underline up here. Next, after you've underlined it, I want you to add a comment. So you'll go up to your comments block up here, click on comments, and I want you to type the following for Compound Republic. I want you to type the word federalism. A compound republic is what James Madison is referring to as federalism. Next, I want you to underline the words two distinct governments. This is where Madison is referring to our system of two governments, national and states, as being compound. So go ahead and add another comment. So the two governments are national and state. Next, I want you to underline where it says the different governments will each control each other. So underline that. And then also underline each will be controlled by itself. You can think of these comments just the same as you think of yourselves as students. As a student, you are controlled by both teachers and administrators, but it is up to you to control yourself. Therefore, you have multiple layers of protection to stay out of trouble. Well, Madison's central argument here is that in setting up a compound republic or federalism, where you have a national government and a state government, the framers created an obstruction against tyranny. So what that means is that it would be very difficult for a person or a small group to take over because of all the layers of protection. If a person, say the president, was to take over, it would be very difficult for the president to take over because there's powers given to the national government and there's powers given to the state government. So he or she would have to overthrow all those powers in order to take over. All right, next, we're going to look at the note provided underneath the quote. So this is what we're going to be looking at here. So the note says, Madison's idea of division of power between central and state governments is known as federalism. Specific power divisions can be seen in the chart below. And we're going to look at the chart in just a second. So I want you to underline, go ahead and underline state, central and state governments. Underline that. And also I want you to highlight the word federalism. Give you a second to do that. So by dividing power between the government into a national government and a state government, Madison felt they would always be able to check on each other. Again, this is guarding against tyranny or a cruel government because each one could always check on each other. So the chart below is not a part of the Federalist paper, but instead evidence of Madison's quote. It shows how power is distributed between the national government and the state government. So let's look at the first column here, where it says power is given to the central government. I want you to put a comment here. Powers given to the central government or the national government are called enumerated powers. These are called enumerated powers. They specifically go to the central government. Some of the things are regulating trade, conduct foreign relations, provide an army and a navy. These are things that are going to the national government only. Declare war. Remember, we've talked about this. Congress is the only part that can declare war, not the president. Print and coin money, set up post offices, and make immigration laws. Those are all powers that only the national government can do, not the states and not the people. Okay? So let's go on to the second column, powers shared. I want you to make another comment. These are called concurrent powers. They're powers shared both by the national government and by the state government. I'll give you a second to type that. So let's look at a couple of these. They both the state government and the national government can both tax. You have federal taxes and you have state taxes. They can also borrow money from different places. They can set up courts. So in the national government, they set up the Supreme Court and some of the lower federal courts. States set up your lower courts within the state. So if you got arrested for a misdemeanor for theft, you would go to the state court, not the Supreme Court. Also, they both can make laws. You have national laws and you have state laws. So for example, a state law would be a seatbelt law. That is a state law. That is state by state. Next, enforce laws. They both make laws and enforce them. It wouldn't be common to make a law and then not enforce it. That would be like making a rule and saying, yeah, you don't have to follow it. We just made it. So you have to enforce the laws as well. And the third column here are powers given to the states. I want you to make a comment here. These are known as reserved powers. Reserve powers are powers that only go to the states, but they cannot go against the U.S. Constitution. So some of these are set up local governments. So if you have city government, county government, those are setting up local governments, even smaller ones. Hold elections. Every state is in charge of their own elections. Even the presidential election, they still are in charge of how to hold the election. Establish schools. They're talking about public schools here. Pass marriage and divorce laws. Every state may have the same or different marriage and divorce laws, depending on what state you're in. And they can regulate in-state business. So you might have a sales tax in Orange County that might be different than the sales tax in Brevard County. So they can make different taxes within the counties, and they can also regulate business. So say you're able to sell a certain product in Orange County at a certain time, and then in Brevard County, you're not allowed to sell that product at that particular time. The state can regulate that. Okay, so we've gone over this. The questions you will complete in class with your document analysis sheet, so don't worry about those questions just yet. But let's go ahead and review the entire document. Now make sure you've highlighted both times where it says federalism. That is our overlying topic of the entire document. We've learned that in order to protect the people's rights, the framers have put a system of federalism in place to separate powers between the national government and the state government, because they wanted to make sure that the people's rights were not violated, and they wanted to put different protections at all levels in order to protect people's rights. So that concludes our video on document A. Be prepared tomorrow to do an activity on document A, and be ready to share your information. Thank you, and have a good night.